Hi, it's Keith from the Evangelical Free Church, Stony Stratford, and we're continuing our series of short talks in the book of Luke. And today we're looking at Luke chapter 1, verses 5 to 25. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So starts Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. Well, it could easily apply to this time. In verses 5, we see it's the time of Herod, who was king of Judah. Herod wasn't a good king. He was a tyrant. He murdered at least one of his wives and possibly one of his sons. But we also observe this. There was a priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah, and his wife Elizabeth, who was also a descendant of Aaron. Both of them were upright in the sight of God, observing all the Lord's commandments and regulations blamelessly. So there's some good people about who really care about the Lord's cause in Israel at that time. Have you ever had what you'd call a once-in-a-lifetime experience? We did. We once went on a submarine, which was picking up soil samples in Loch Ness. And it went down to about 420 feet. Now, we later spoke to someone who'd worked on submarines, and they said that was incredibly deep to go. We had a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Well, Zechariah was about to have one. Firstly, he was going to offer incense in the temple. That was a major deal if you were a priest. It was the kind of thing that you'd do perhaps once in a lifetime. But while he's doing this, he gets something which is far surpassing that. Listen to this in verse 11 and 12. Then the angel of the Lord appeared to him standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was startled and gripped with fear. Zechariah knew his Old Testament, or his Bible at that time, what we call the Old Testament today. Angels appeared at special occasions. So what's the message the angel is going to give? Well, it's found in verse 13 and 17. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will give him the name John." What was his prayer? Had he been praying for a son? It seems unlikely because they were both well on in years. Perhaps in the past they had prayed because it would have been seen as a shameful thing. It would have been seen as perhaps the kind of thing that happened to people who were hiding some secret sin. Well, we know they're godly people. But I think that time for those prayers had passed. I think what we're told about them perhaps gives us the insight, and it's this. They were good people who observed all the Lord's commands and regulations. And they would have been praying that the Lord would have fulfilled his promises to his people, Israel. They knew that one day a Messiah was going to come. And I think that's what he was praying about at this time. Listen to the second part of the angel's message. And he, that's John the Son, will go before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah to turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the disobedient to wisdom and righteousness, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Can you see what's happening there? Yes, they didn't realize it, but their son was going to be answer to that prayer. He was going to go ahead of the Messiah. And actually, what you actually get there is a kind of paraphrase of the last big prophecy up to that time. In Malachi 4, 5 and 6, the Old Testament ends with this prophecy of Elijah coming before the Lord and turning the hearts of the fathers to their children, the children to their fathers. And Zechariah's son's going to be part of the fulfillment of that. Too good to be true? Well, Zechariah certainly thought so. His immediate reaction is, well, how could this possibly be? I'm an old man and my wife's old and having children's world behind us. Surely that's the case. Now, he should have known better. There are examples in the Old Testament, Samson is one, of God allowing couples to have children at incredible times. Well, the angel's answer is interesting. Just listen to verses 19 and 20. The angel answered, I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God. I've been sent to speak to you and to tell you this good news. And now you will be silent, not able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at their proper time. There's a sense of Gabriel saying, look, I'm an archangel. I stand in God's presence and do his bidding. I haven't got time and I don't do pranks. That's not what I'm about. Do you really think I'd come just to wind you up on some sort of sick joke? Just for that, a little demonstration. You'll be dumb until your son is born. Now the passage ends on a beautiful note. It says that he goes home to his wife, and after that, when they come together, she is pregnant. And it's interesting, she spends 5 months in seclusion. Perhaps she was struggling to believe it, but when it's obvious she's pregnant, she makes herself known. And she says this in verse 25, the Lord has done this for me, she said. In these days he has shown his favour and taken away my disgrace among the people. There'd be no more people nudging each other and saying there must be some secret wrong in Zechariah and Elizabeth's past. It's an interesting picture to end on, isn't it? How we are made right and our disgrace is taken away. Just listen to what Paul writes to the Colossian church. Colossians 1:21. Once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behaviour, but now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death to present you holy in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation. That, in a sense, is the good news of the gospel. Thank you for listening.